3. Stupidest cars. Level 1000. Shocked even. Elon Musk. So ridiculous, even Musk would reboot his brain. These 3 cars redefine stupidity. Prepare to be shocked. The 1948 Davis Divan was one of the strangest and most ill-fated automotive ventures of the post-war era. A car that promised innovation and luxury, but ultimately delivered nothing more than financial ruin and disappointment. A product of ambitious salesmanship and questionable engineering, the Divan was a 3-wheeled, aircraft-inspired luxury automobile that looked futuristic on the surface but was deeply flawed in execution. While it boasted a sleek aluminum body, room for 4 passengers, and bold claims of superior fuel efficiency, the car was ultimately slow, unstable, and doomed from the start. The man behind the Davis Divan was Glenn Gordon Gary Davis, a charismatic entrepreneur with a gift for persuasion, but little experience in actual automobile manufacturing. Davis had acquired the rights to a unique 3-wheeled prototype called the Californian, built by an aerospace engineer named Frank Curtis. Seeing potential in the unconventional design, Davis rebranded it as the Davis Divan and pitched it as the car of the future, a streamlined, affordable, fuel-efficient alternative to traditional automobiles. With its enclosed fender skirts, aircraft-inspired fuselage, and a single front wheel, the Divan certainly looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, but its radical design was more of a gimmick than a practical innovation. Davis aggressively courted investors, promising them that his company, Davis Motor Car Company, would soon become a major player in the booming post-war auto industry. He opened a factory in Van Nuys, California, and even launched a nationwide marketing campaign, complete with glowing press releases and demonstrations of the car's supposed performance. He claimed the Divan would revolutionize the automobile market with its 3-wheeled stability, lightweight aluminum body, and fuel efficiency, boasting an impressive 35 miles per gallon. Unfortunately, most of these claims were either exaggerated or outright false. The reality was that the Davis Divan was a disaster on wheels. While the idea of a 3-wheeled car might have seemed futuristic, the single front wheel created major handling issues. The vehicle had a tendency to tip over when turning sharply, and its stability was questionable at best. Powered by a 63 horsepower, 2.2-liter Hercules 4-cylinder engine, the Divan was also sluggish and underpowered, struggling to reach respectable speeds. Despite its aircraft-inspired looks, it performed more like a glorified golf cart than a real automobile. Worse yet, Davis's business dealings were as unstable as his car. He collected thousands of dollars in deposits from eager customers, promising mass production that never came. He also convinced dealers to buy into his vision, charging them hefty franchise fees with the assurance that they would soon be selling thousands of these revolutionary cars. But behind the scenes, the company was in turmoil. Production was delayed, money was mismanaged, and suppliers were left unpaid. In the end, only 13 Davis Divans were ever built before the entire operation collapsed in scandal, as investors and dealers began to realize they had been swindled. Lawsuits piled up, and Davis himself was eventually arrested and convicted of fraud. His grand vision of an automotive empire crumbled, and the Davis Divan became one of the most infamous automotive failures of the 20th century. Today, the few surviving Davis Divans are prized oddities, relics of an era when post-war optimism sometimes led to wildly unrealistic business ventures. The idea of a luxury 3-wheeled car was ridiculous then, and it remains ridiculous now. Even in an era of electric and autonomous vehicles, the Davis Divan stands as a reminder that not every futuristic idea is a good one. The 1956 Dodge La Femme stands as one of the most bizarre and misguided attempts at gender-specific marketing in automotive history. While today it is a rare and fascinating collector's item, at the time, it was a tone-deaf response to the growing number of women purchasing automobiles. Instead of creating a car that genuinely catered to women's practical needs, Dodge simply took an existing model, the custom Royal Lancer, and rebranded it with pastel colors, floral upholstery, and a set of coordinated fashion accessories. The result was a car that not only failed to sell but also became a symbol of how out of touch car manufacturers could be with their audience. The La Femme was conceived at a time when American automakers were experimenting with all kinds of marketing gimmicks to attract buyers. The 1950s saw an explosion in automotive design, with companies constantly introducing new features, bold styling cues, and luxury add-ons to capture the attention of an increasingly prosperous post-war middle class. The idea for a car specifically for women was likely influenced by sociological trends of the time. More women were driving than ever before, yet the automotive industry was still overwhelmingly male-dominated. Dodge executives likely assumed that if men wanted powerful, flashy cars, then women must want something delicate and fashionable. However, rather than designing a car with practical features that women might appreciate, such as better visibility, easier handling, or improved storage, the company focused entirely on aesthetics. First introduced in 1955, the Dodge La Femme came in a two-tone paint scheme called Heather Rose and Sapphire White. The 1956 version changed to Misty Orchid and Regal Orchid, keeping the theme of soft pastel shades. Inside, the seats were upholstered in brocade fabric with a rosebud pattern, and the door panels featured a matching design. But the most unusual aspect of the La Femme wasn't its color. It was the collection of accessories that came with it. Each La Femme included a matching handbag that fit neatly into a special compartment in the seat back. The handbag came with an array of accessories, including a compact mirror, lipstick case, cigarette lighter, and coin purse, all adorned with the La Femme logo. Additionally, the car was equipped with a raincoat, hat, and umbrella, all in a matching pink and white color scheme, stored in a compartment behind the front seats. The idea was that a woman driving the La Femme could step out of her car fully coordinated, as if the vehicle itself were an extension of her wardrobe. While Dodge saw the La Femme as a way to appeal to fashion-conscious women, it completely misunderstood the priorities of female drivers. By the mid-1950s, women were gaining more financial independence and purchasing cars not as accessories, but as necessities for work, family, and personal transportation. The idea that a woman's primary concern when buying a car would be whether or not it matched her handbag was not only outdated but also insulting to many female buyers. Women wanted the same things men did in a car: performance, reliability, safety, and style, not a vehicle marketed like a department store perfume set. Beyond the questionable concept, the La Femme also suffered from poor execution. It was never given a dedicated marketing campaign, and Dodge's dealers were hesitant to stock the model, seeing it as a novelty rather than a serious product. Some dealerships didn't even bother ordering La Femme packages, preferring to stick with more traditional Dodge models that appealed to a wider audience. With little effort put into promoting it and a lukewarm reception from the public, sales of the La Femme were extremely low. Dodge quietly discontinued the package after 1956, and the idea of a car specifically for women was never seriously attempted again by major American automakers. Today, the Dodge La Femme is a rare collector's item, with only a small number produced and even fewer surviving in original condition. It has become a curiosity among classic car enthusiasts. Some appreciate it as a unique piece of automotive history, while others see it as an embarrassing misstep from an era when car companies failed to understand their changing customer base. In retrospect, the La Femme serves as a reminder that successful automotive design should focus on practicality, performance, and real-world usability rather than outdated gender stereotypes. Female drivers in the 1950s, just like today, were not looking for a gimmick wrapped in pastel paint. They wanted cars that met their needs as drivers, not as fashion accessories. The failure of the La Femme was not just in its marketing, but in its fundamental misunderstanding of its target audience. It remains one of the automotive industry's most fascinating failures, a testament to the importance of understanding what customers actually want rather than what marketers think they should want. The 1966 AMC Marlin was one of the more unusual attempts at blending a sporty fastback design with a full-size luxury coupe, and its failure remains a cautionary tale of mismatched styling, lackluster performance, and confused marketing. American Motors Corporation, AMC, a company known for its economy-focused and practical vehicles, was trying to break into the booming personal luxury and muscle car markets of the mid-1960s. With competitors like the Ford Mustang, Plymouth Barracuda, and Dodge Charger gaining popularity, AMC felt the need to introduce something with a bit more flair. Unfortunately, their solution, the Marlin, ended up being a textbook example of what happens when a manufacturer attempts to shoehorn a new body style onto an existing platform without considering overall proportions, target audience, or true performance potential. The origins of the Marlin trace back to AMC's Rambler tarpon concept, a sleek, small fastback based on the compact Rambler American. The tarpon was well received by the public, and many expected AMC to bring it into production as a Mustang competitor. However, AMC's leadership, particularly CEO Roy Abernethy, decided that a larger vehicle would be more appealing, opting to base the production version on the midsize Rambler Classic platform instead. This was the first of several miscalculations, as the resulting Marlin lost the light, sporty feel of the tarpon concept and ended up looking awkwardly oversized for a fastback. The 1965 model, built on the shorter Classic chassis, was an oddity in terms of design, and its heavy, unbalanced appearance did little to excite buyers. For 1966, AMC made a few changes to try to correct the Marlin's flaws. It was moved to the larger Ambassador platform, giving it a longer wheelbase and a bit more road presence. However, this did little to fix the car's biggest issue, its ungainly proportions. Unlike the sleek fastbacks coming from Detroit's Big Three automakers, the Marlin had an odd, almost bulbous roofline that has seemed hastily grafted onto a sedan body. The result was a car that looked visually heavy rather than sleek or aggressive. Instead of exuding the sportiness that defined the Mustang or Charger, the Marlin had a profile that made it seem slow and cumbersome, a perception that wasn't entirely inaccurate. AMC offered the Marlin with a range of engines, from a standard inline-six to optional V8s. The top-performing 327 cubic inch V8 produced 270 horsepower, which was respectable but nowhere near the levels of muscle cars like the Pontiac GTO or Chevrolet Chevelle SS. The base models, equipped with six-cylinder engines or smaller V8s, were woefully underpowered for a car of this size, making the Marlin more of a highway cruiser than a true performance machine. Handling was another weak point. Because the Marlin was fundamentally a sedan with a fastback grafted onto it, it drove like a traditional Rambler, meaning soft suspension, body roll, and uninspiring cornering ability. Unlike the Mustang, which felt nimble and responsive, the Marlin felt large and somewhat sluggish, further alienating performance-minded buyers. Marketing didn't help matters either. AMC tried to position the Marlin as a personal luxury car, but this was a niche that was already dominated by more established models like the Buick Riviera, Ford Thunderbird, and Pontiac Grand Prix. At the same time, it lacked the raw power and aggressive styling necessary to attract muscle car enthusiasts. The Marlin was caught in an identity crisis. It wasn't sporty enough to be a muscle car, and it wasn't refined enough to be a true luxury coupe. It was a car without a clear audience, and in the competitive 1960s market, that was a recipe for failure. Sales numbers reflected the Marlin's lack of appeal. Despite AMC's hopes that it would be a breakthrough success, buyers largely ignored it. The 1965 model sold just over 10,000 units, and the redesigned 1966 version barely fared any better. By 1967, AMC had given up on the Marlin altogether, shelving it after just 3 model years. The company shifted its focus to the all-new Javelin, a proper pony car designed to compete directly with the Mustang, which proved to be a much more successful move. Today, the Marlin is mostly remembered as an oddball in AMC's lineup. While it has a small but dedicated following among classic car collectors, it remains one of the company's more perplexing failures. Its awkward styling, lackluster performance, and confused marketing strategy make it a textbook example of what happens when a manufacturer tries to chase trends without fully committing to a clear vision. Unlike the Mustang, Charger, or even AMC's later Javelin, the Marlin failed to carve out a distinct identity, and as a result, it faded into obscurity as one of the most forgettable fastbacks of the 1960s.